Hello all. So in today's lecture, we are going to start off with the second part of the chapter one that we have discussed for the module five. Right. So let me open the slide and let's have a quick recap of what we discussed in the previous class. Right. So in the previous class, we started off with the web scraping module five, and we discussed what is web scraping, then few important modules under web scraping, and we'll be slowly discussing further more about these modules, how we can use this module to implement different aspects of web scraping. Right, we saw the module web browser, which we used for, we created a program for Mapit, right? If you remember the task of opening a Google map with simply the address, right? Making copying the address and directly opening the Google map for it, right? So we saw it how to do using command line argument as well, right? And this was the code for handling the clip content and to launch the browser itself, right? So we used the Piper clip, which we have already used in the previous modules also, right? And then we saw what is the difference, why we need this automated program for opening a Google Map with simply copying the address, right? So here is what we saw the difference of in manually getting a map and getting a map using our automated program, that is mapit.py. Then we also saw downloading files from the web with the use of the request module, right? How request module is used to download some web pages and using some function provided by the request module. We did that, and we also checked for the errors, right? And the end, ultimately, we saw how we can save the downloaded files to our own local drives, like hard drives. So this is where we saw using some chunks. We can save some content, some size of the content, offline here at our local disk itself, right in our hard disk. So so that the data is available for us at locally in our device. So these were the steps for downloading and saving those files in the hard drive. So today's focus will be on understanding what is HTML first, right? As you all must be aware of what is HTML, but we'll have a quick refreshing session for what is an HTML, some basic things in the HTML, and how to do different types of tasks in the web browser, and such things we will be seeing here. And also, how can we parse HTML, right, using a very uh, you know interesting module called BeautifulSoup module, right? So this is a BeautifulSoup module. If you remember, we discussed in our first lecture. It is actually a Python package which is used to parse HTML and XML documents, right? So we'll be using that BeautifulSoup module, which is again an interesting module to parse the HTML data from a web page, right? Before that, let us discuss what is the HTML. So must all be aware of the full form of the HTML, which is Hypertext Markup Language, right? It stands for Hypertext Markup Language, HTML. So there are different resources in order to learn. If you want to really learn the HTML, there are many ways to do it. Right? You'll find YouTube videos, you'll find blogs, you'll find websites which give you, basic understanding and also syntax and example with example uh, to learn this HTML. Right? So there are different types of tags that you'll be making use of when you try to create an HTML page, right? So let us go ahead and see a very basic HTML page. How does a HTML page would look like, right? So basically, we'll be making use of many tags. HTML has a lot of tags. So depending on the tag, depending on the type of content that you want to present on the web page, you're going to use the tag for that, right? So for example, let's say if I give this tag called strong with some text, hello, and then world. So it's a simple one-liner HTML page, you can say, which is going to print hello world on the web page with hello being strong. So what I mean by strong is, you can see here, right? So this is a simple HTML page would look like, right? You must have seen on many web pages that the name of the web page followed by the extension HTML, right? So this is a simple, very basic HTML document on which is presented on the web browser, right? With a text called "Hello World," whereas you can see the difference between the text "Hello" and the text "World," right? So basically, the "Hello" has been bolded, so that's because of the strong tag. So we used the strong tag for "Hello," which made the text bold, right? So anyways, these are the very basic, and likewise there are many other basic tags which you can use to modify or animate or do whatever customization that you want to do with respect to the text that you want to display on the web page, right? So let's say if I have to give a link here, which let's say the link of this the author's website itself. So the simple uh, instruction for that HTML page would be the name. This is nothing but the label that we are putting here, and followed by that the rendered link, right? So this is the link, as you can see in the double quoted, that this is the link of the website, right? And followed by that we have the title on which we have to render that link, right? So that is Python books. So this can be done using the tag called href, right, which is the reference which is used for referring a particular link on a text, right? So when you run this HTML document on a web browser, so the output that you see is something like this. Right? So we have the text that is else free Python books. So else is the name of the author here, which is giving you the link to download the Python books. Right. So as you can see, this Python book is highlighted and also underlined. So that means it is the this particular text here is a hyperlink, right? There's a link embedded or rendered within the text. So the moment you click on this Python books text, you will be diverted to the website called inventwithpython.com, right? Because this is the link which has been rendered for that text, right? So this is again very basic, just for your understanding that what is HTML for those who don't know, or who have not explored how does a HTML page would look like otherwise, right? You must have seen many pages HTML documents, but they are full-fledged or a lot of things have been added, but a basic HTML page would look like something like this, right? So let us go ahead further and see what all things that we can do, right? For example, viewing the source of the HTML page itself, right? I'm pretty sure that a few of you guys must be already aware how to check out the source, right? The source of a particular HTML page, right? For example, if I have to, let's say, I have to create, let's say I'll open a website, right? Let's say Python itself. Okay, so I just entered Python on the web browser here, right? And okay, let me share the screen first. Okay, pardon me. I think the screen was not shared. So hopefully that the screen is visible now. Yeah. So let me have a quick recap of again what we discussed. Pardon me for not sharing the screen here. Anyways, so okay, we'll go back to discuss once again, right? Okay, so in the previous module, we started off with the uh, module 5, that is web scraping. So we discussed about web scraping, the definition, the different modules under web scraping. Right, we saw a program which can automate the task of opening a Google map just by copying address. Right, so that module was web browser module. Right, then we discussed about the uh, you know handling those automated task, opening that Google, for example, opening that Google map using this automated Python program instead of manually getting a map, right? So this is the usual way of doing uh, opening a Google Map manually, and this is what we do using the automated program called Matlib, right? Appet. So as you can see, there are a lot of differences. The main thing is it reduces our time to open, and it reduces the manual work, right? Every time that you want to open a Google Map. So that way we can say that we can automate it, right? So then we saw downloading files from the web with the request model, and also how to check the errors for those. And finally, we saw saving downloaded files to the hard drive. How can we save downloaded files to our local drives, right? So we saw an example of that as well. And there are the steps to download and save a file in the local disk or hard drive, right? So as I said, we were discussing about the HTML, which I think I have already covered this, but just because I have not shared the screen, let me show you back again. That these are the different resources that you can learn HTML from, and here is what the basic HTML page would look like, right? So as you can see, it's a simple uh, web page, HTML page, which prints the text hello world, wherein this hello is in little bold, right? So this bold is because of this tag strong, right? So this text under this tag is hello, which is bold, and the other text that is bold is not bolded, right? So here you can see the tag is open, right? And when you open the tag, you write whatever that you want to do with respect to that tag, right? And then you close that tag. By closing the tag, how do we identify the closing of the tag? The second tag is prefixed with a forward slash, right? So that's a closing that indicates the closing of the tag, right? So yeah, and if you want to link a particular website under a text, this is how you do it using href, right? So it refers that particular website under that text, right? So this is the this is how some the output would look like, that when you click on the Python books, you will be directed to the website called Invent with Python. Right. So we were discussing about viewing the source HTML of a web page, right? So like I said, you few of you must be already aware how to view a HTML source, right, of a particular web page. So just let me demonstrate you that when you open a particular web page, let's say if I search Python, right? I search Python on the web page, just for an example. And when you, let's say if you want to view the HTML doc, right, the HTML source of this particular web page, you can simply right click and click on view page source, right? So this will take out to the your this particular web page HTML file, right? So as you can see, there are a lot of text, a lot of tags, right? It's again, you can see that this is the start of the HTML document here, right? And then there are some other tags which have been used, head, body, right? And maybe some CSS. The CSS is actually the styling sheet, which will be later linked to this HTML document for better representation. Right. So as you can see, this is the whole complete HTML document, right? For the page, let me show you the page. So this is what you see. Right? This is what we usually see. The web page usually represented. As you can see, there are some text box. There are some highlighted field. Then there are some hyperlinks, some icons here like loaded images, right? So there is some some text which is highlighted, some text which is not highlighted, you can say. There's some drop downs here, right? So these all things are done using the HTML doc, right? So let me show you the this. So this is the HTML doc for that particular web source, right? Web page source. Anyway, so coming back, uh, yeah, so viewing the source, as I said, so you can simply right click on the web page source, and you will be seeing some data with respect to that web page, right? So that is the HTML document of that particular web page. That is the source of that HTML. Now, how do we open our browser's developer tool? Right, I'm pretty sure even few of you guys are already aware of this thing, that how to open the developer tool, right? So let's say if I have to open this page, right, and I want to see the developer page for this particular web page, so I can simply go on and press F12, right? So when I click on F12, as you can see, there's one window which has opened on this right side, right? So this is basically used, this is a developer tool which you can explore a lot of things, literally a lot of things that you can explore here. So as you can see, it is still recording the network activity. I can simply press Control R, and you will see that a lot of things are loading here. Right? Okay, so if you have to close this developer toolkit, this developer, by the way, this developer tool is pre-installed in the Chrome browser. So if you're using Chrome, you can simply press F12, right? Maybe in the I think in the Internet Explorer also it is the same, but it depends on the browser to browser. Sometimes it changes, right? So if I have to close this developer tool, you can simply press F12 again, right? So uh, that's what the browser's developer toolkit looks like. If you are using Mac OS 10, then you can use this option I to open the developer toolkit in the Chrome browser. If you're using the Chrome and Mac OS 10, right? So yeah, this is what something that developer tool would look like if it is placed, you know, vertically here. Right. Another important tool is another important aspect which is interesting for you if you want to explore a lot of things, that you can use the developer tools to find the HTML elements. That you can inspect the elements. Now inspecting is also same whenever you open a web page, you can right click and you can see that there is a option called inspect. Right. So when you click on the inspect, you get the HTML dog, and you can actually see which text is where and which line of code is handling what part of the web page, right? So as I move up, you will see a lot of you know uh, areas getting selected here. As you can see, this is the main HTML definition here. This is the HTML file, right? Head, span ID, and so on, right? So there are different tags that they have used for representing different things. So I'm sure a few of you guys have already explored such things, but the point here is that you can use these things to explore a lot of other HTML related things. For example, parsing the HTML document, right? So you should explore such things which will um make you understand as a computer science engineer. It will help you understand very minute things, very important things as well, which we see otherwise daily life, right? Right. So this is about inspecting the thing. Now let us go and discuss about parsing the HTML with the module that we were discussing, that is beautiful soap module. So just a minute. Yeah. So parsing the HTML with the beautiful soap module. Now, as I said, beautiful soap module, it is actually a Python package. It's a Python package which helps us to parse the HTML and the XML documents, right? So it's a module which is used for extracting the information, right? By parsing, I mean extracting the information from a HTML page, right? So the module's name is Beautiful Soap, as you can see here, Beautiful Soap, and it is represented by it. It can be also used with the name of PS4. So when you want to use this module, of course, you have to install this module using some commands. So if you are installing it, you can use pip install Beautiful Soap 4, where 4 is the version of that particular module, right? So once you install it, you can use this module anywhere you want, depending on the usage. right? Using the instruction that is import BS4, right? So here's a simple example of right HTML document here, which is nothing but it consists of the HTML tag, the head tag, the title of the web page, and then closing those tags, right? Closing title, closing head. This is the main body. As you can see from here to here, it's the main body here, right? And then once the body is complete, we close that HTML, right? So let us go ahead and discuss creating the beautiful object from the HTML. Right? Why object? Because once you have the object of a particular HTML document, you can use that object to do whatever that you want to do. Right? Let's say if I have to first let's create a beautiful soap object from the HTML. So creating is simple. We request it using the request model. We import the BS4, that is beautiful soap version 4, right? We request the site, like let's say I request the site called http colon slash slash nostarch.com. So this is the site that the web page site is nothing but this is a HTML page that I have to that I'm requesting here, right? I check the status, right? Once the status is good, then I create the object for that. How do we create? I create the object that is, let's say, no start soap, and using the beautiful soap module, I get the I extract the information. Right? What does the beautiful soap module do? It parse the information from that HTML document, right? And then I can close that file. So just for an example, if I have to give you a simple format, simple example, you can use, let's say, example file, open that HTML file, right? Use the example soap, which is nothing but the object here, and call the beautiful soap model, right? So that this will have the extracted information of that HTML document. That is nothing but the parsing of that HTML document, right? So once you have that beautiful soap object, you can use its method to locate specific parts of an HTML document, like I said earlier. Right? Once you have that object, you can do a lot of things with respect to that object. For example, you can use its methods, right, to locate some other different types of parts with respect to that HTML document. Right. So how do we find an element? Right? Finding a particular element using some methods is what we are going to see now. Let's say finding the element with the method called select. So how does select help? Here are some example. Let's say example of the CSS selectors, which are used to select that part of the program. For example, soap.select div. So div is nothing but it is the division. So it will help you select that division, right? All elements, it will help you select all the elements with the name div. Similarly, soap.select author. So this is hash author, which is nothing but the ID. So it will select the element with the ID attribute of author. Right. So similarly, we have dot notice, div span, div greater than span, and input name and so on. So these selectors here, these are the CSS selectors. These selectors will help us to select all the elements, right? All the elements of that particular HTML document, right? Okay, so here is an example of getting the data from an element attribute, right? So whatever the methods that we have here, these methods are passed as a string, right? These methods are usually passed as a string for an attribute name, right? And in return, what we get in return, it returns the attribute value. For example, let's say we import the beautiful soap, we create the object, we open that site, right? We check the spam element using the soup.select span, right? And option 0. Then we give that span element, right, as the uh, we check the strength, string length, string as a spam element, right? And we are just simply printing this spam ID of author with the name of that author, right? And once we get the ID, we print the author, right? So Next is when we use the spam element dot get, right? So this is the spam element, and when we use the method get to take some non-existing address, right? So if it is non-existing address, if it is none, it is equal to none, then it is true, right? And then when we check the attributes, for example, spam element dot attributes, these are the attributes. It gives you the ID and the author. So these are the attributes here, right? So that's how we get the data from the uh, elements attribute here, right? So uh, this is all about how we can use the beautiful soup module to extract information and do a lot of other things with respect to this, right? So we will discuss further in our next lecture about the further modules, right, and also a few interesting projects with respect to such topics, right? So with this, I shall conclude the lecture, right, and stay tuned for the further lectures. Thank you.